Ready to kick it off, mate. Ready to kick off
Yeah,
the
keen.
first HubSpot hacks.
Yeah, love it.
But for those that don't know, we've been using HubSpot ourselves for a number of years. We became a HubSpot Certified Sales Partner. It's been 2 or 3 years ago now, Das. We've done a lot of
Yeah,
HubSpot implementations. We've done a lot around the HubSpot API and integration with our platform, the Outbound game. Hundreds of different deal stage setups. We've seen a lot when it comes to HubSpot specifically, but we kind of put our heads together and thought, I haven't really seen too much content out there for people specifically just helping HubSpot users improve their
mm,
pipeline, improve all the little different pieces that make a big difference. And
yeah,
so, yeah, me and Dusk, we put our heads together and thought, why don't we actually create like a bit of a webinar around this? Why don't we create some content that's going to be valuable, practical stuff that you can implement right away?
yeah,
And yeah, any of the more nitty gritty support, we're here to help as well. We've done a lot behind the scenes, so we've got a lot of
yeah,
that we've been able to develop just real time, actually working on it ourselves. So it's been cool.
yeah. But it's particularly, Steve, for that, as we say, that specialist area of that 10 to 50 mil projects in construction manufacturing, that sweet spot, the way that you can set up your CRM and the way that you can set up your HubSpot specifically to generate success in that zone is a unique way of setting up pipelines. It's a unique way of setting up some automations. And so it's all we spend our days is hanging out with people that are exactly like you on this webinar. And we've seen 100 ways of making HubSpot succeed, and we've seen 100 ways of making HubSpot fail. So we're keen to dive in and give you guys the goods. Let's rip in, Steve. Without any further ado, what do you reckon? Ripper.
So, team, welcome to HubSpot Hacks. Like we mentioned, specifically for those in that 10 to 50 mil project sales space, that size of business, using HubSpot. Obviously, the reason we specialize in project-centric sales teams is a deal pipeline, deal stages, nurturing, actually having good data to be able to inform you over a longer time period is so important because you get no prizes for coming second. Yet you put a lot of hours, money, and effort into moving this deal through the stages over multiple months, sometimes, if not multiple
Mm,
years. And you don't want to miss out on those opportunities. It's also so important then that a CRM is in place and working well, because if you're working with deals over a longer time period, you can't have it all stuck in your head, nor can you have it scratched down on a piece of paper that you lose the book 4 months later, and then all of a sudden you have no notes against the particular deal. So that's why we specialize in that space and very much recommend HubSpot for project-centric sales teams, because it's aligned in that kind of philosophy of deal stages and having specific processes that move on all the way through. If you're just selling widgets or, managing accounts, it's not necessarily the greatest CRM for that. There's plenty of other more account-based CRMs that could work well, but if you're in projects and you care about deal stages,
mm.
it's going to be key. So how we're going to roll today, team, is as we mentioned, this is a two-part series. We're going to be kicking off with some key fundamentals today, and then we've got an advanced session booked in the end of August, which we'll get you guys hooked up into and get that running as well. We'd love for you to ask any questions throughout this whole webinar. You can either fire them in the chat directly to us. And last, and I think this is an important part, Das, is what we love about the HubSpot community is often they're really good people. We've met a lot of
Yeah, totally.
we've met a lot of people from head office. We've met a lot of people that are account managers across Australia and the world that are working in HubSpot. They've got a pretty cool culture, and they very much have a culture of sharing and getting better together and sharing cool ideas. So don't be a hoarder. We're all here to get better. So if you got any tips or advice, or if there's a question that's getting asked and you're like, oh, I've got some insights around that, or hey, actually I've set up a workflow and it works really well in this way, or whatever it may be, we can all share this knowledge together and get better together. So yeah, would love for that to happen. So
Love it. Just to kick that off, Steve, before we even kick off, we've had an anonymous 10D ask a question. Are people using caller/dialer integrations? Which are people finding best? Please feel free to throw an answer into the chat if you've got an answer to that straight away.
yeah,
We'll
there is
rip into
some
it.
dialers that we have heard right away, and obviously Aircall has spent a lot of time creating really solid dialing integrations with HubSpot. But there is also a connector on the HubSpot App Exchange. I'll find it during today's session, which allows you to connect to 3CX and a bunch of the other major call setups, and it has really good reviews, like has hundreds of, near 5-star reviews. So I think there's a pretty good connector there if you are using a phone system and you want to get that hooked in to HubSpot. Obviously, you can just dial straight out of HubSpot as well if you have a direct number inputted.
Nice.
Cool. Das, over to you, mate.
Awesome, team. So I want to dive into the big problems that we're facing with HubSpot overall, and ultimately why you probably came to this webinar today as an opportunity to solve some of these problems, solve some of these challenges. So the first one is this. It's the unspoken elephant in the room, shall we say, Steve, when it comes to HubSpot, which when you look at your profit and loss at the end of the day, you scroll down that little column and you see a pretty big whack of a number sitting there in your column thinking, man, this thing is expensive, okay? HubSpot is not cheap. Pretty much if you are looking at implementing a CRM, there's two major players that are the double-headed monster at the top of it all, which is HubSpot and Salesforce. Neither of them are purchased because you're looking for the cheapest one possible. Let's just put it that way, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So not only is it an expensive application from a CRM perspective, meaning a sales CRM perspective, but there are a number of add-ons that you can add to HubSpot, i.e. Sales Hub, Marketing Hub, Operations Hub. All of these add-ons that you can add only add extra expense to your overall your CRM costs. Now, that's fine. That's all well and good. If you're going to spend that money on a CRM, then HubSpot is so worth it because it can go the extra mile for you. There's so much that they have taken care of. We get it. That's all well and good. The only problem with it is this, team, is that only ever a small amount of what you're actually paying for gets implemented. Please just give us a yes in the chat if that resonates, if you're here today because that big problem makes sense to you. You realize it's quite the expense. You realize that you're actually investing quite a bit in your HubSpot CRM, and that'd be fine, but you've realized, no, it's a problem because we're not using most of it. That's ultimately what we're looking to solve a bit of for you today. Anything that we can teach you that helps you make the most of the investment that you're making is always going to be a good step on today's webinar. This is good.
Love it.
Next, team. The next problem that we run into, and this will be another challenge that we want to help solve for you today and in our advanced one coming up in around about a month, is that the HubSpot CRM for sales teams ultimately is what we call the central source of truth. So as a sales leader, this becomes an issue when you go, hey, we're investing in this. We're not getting the most out of it, like we mentioned on the previous slide. But the biggest problem is we can't even get some of these basic fundamentals taken care of. So what we like to say is that with a CRM, if it's the beating pulse of a sales team, then the healthier you keep that pulse, the better you treat that heart, the better the whole body is going to be served, okay? The way we treat the heart well is we take care of the most basic of information being implemented. The biggest problems that we hear from leaders come up to us and say is they go, guys, we need you to be putting in the notes. We need you to have accurate deal forecasted close dates. We need to have accurate deal values. These sorts of things need to be put accurately into the CRM, and none of it's happening. So the leader's problem when they sit back in their chair, look at the CRM at the end of the day, and then look at that number in the profit and loss and go, man, this is starting to be a head scratcher. The problem with it is that, yes, now the team is starting to implement some of it, or they know what's possible with it, but they're not even taking care of those most basic fundamentals in terms of deal notes, etc., that help a leader's job be a whole lot easier. So we're going to solve a bit of that on today's webinar for you, and next month's webinar, I should say, as well, Steve.
Yeah.
Third problem, team, is this, and this is what it wraps up as in a nutshell, is that as a result, HubSpot feels like a micromanager and task manager, not the brilliant sales tool it can be. So when we run into those problems, when a leader realizes we're paying so much for this, we're not getting much out of it, or we're not using it to its full potential, that's a problem. And even the most basic fundamental of things aren't being taken care of, like the team aren't entering the notes or the deal values and all this sort of stuff. Ultimately, what it leads to is this big elephant in the room in any sales organization where the leader then feels like they have to whack people from behind or dangle a carrot to convince them to use the CRM, but the sales team has no idea why they should use it, how to use it well. And ultimately what we realize is we just find ourselves in a micromanagement mess. At the end of the day, how it sounds is this. Sales leader says, hey team, can you please use the CRM properly? Team says, no worries, boss. and then nothing happens after that. That's it in a nutshell. And we can all have a bit of a laugh, team. So if you want to put a yes in the chat, if you're a leader or a team member and you've experienced that, or you've noticed that it's one of your friends or family members' companies that does that, or you look in the mirror sometimes and go, yeah, that's me. I hate to admit it, but that's a big problem in our company. Then you're probably in the right spot. Okay. The question that gets asked a lot of the time by sales teams behind the behind the scenes is, how long can I get away with not actually having to use this thing? I'd rather just remember the notes in my head. I'd rather just have their phone numbers in my own phone. I know what I'm doing. How long can I get away with my boss realizing I didn't enter the notes? And how much can I get to the next sales meeting and promise him, yeah, I'll do it again next time, boss, and then never do it again? This is where we get to. Okay. So plenty of yeses flying through.
I think a deeper issue on that one before we dive into some answers here, team, and some solutions. Often the correlation I've found, Das, and I've only recently had this aha moment, is the people that you have the most issue with in terms of using HubSpot, putting call notes in, even logging calls, logging meetings, they usually have something else in common, which means they operate as a lone wolf. The people who really understand that actually a team sales approach and getting more people involved on our deal nurture and our deal processes, not only does it help me close more deals, but it creates a faster buying journey. They're the ones who also start to understand the power of getting it into a central source of truth so that multiple people in the team can view it. Thus, I remember even when we were just running our own kind of deals, and you were running off doing a couple of discovery calls and I was running off doing a couple of discovery calls. I don't know if I'm just really honest. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I already know it's in my notebook. It's all good. Like I know where that deal's up to. But it wasn't until we got Mitch on board, and it wasn't until we really started collaborating on a lot more deals and realizing our close rate went up, our average sale went up, and our speed to buy went down.
Absolutely.
We started to put BCOP playbooks in there, and we really made it a whole, mandatory field. So now anyone in our team can jump on and collaborate on a deal and know exactly where it's up to intelligently. So I think it's something to keep in mind. If you're really struggling with people getting stuff into HubSpot, just be aware of, are they operating as a lone wolf to begin with? So maybe it's a cultural shift that also has to happen as well as a systematic shift,
Nice. Well
Get them
said.
to understand that selling as a team is what's working in the current market and will continue to work.
And that's the truth of the matter, isn't it, Steve? Like, you give a tool to the biggest idiot in the room, they'll use the tool like an idiot. Like if you give a hammer to someone who's never built a house, give them some hammer, wood and nails, they don't know what to do with it, even though they have all the tools, right? Yeah. And so you're so right. I love the way you said that. It can be a cultural shift first. It could be an understanding of what we actually want to achieve as a team first. And then HubSpot is used as the tool to drive that at the end of the day. Those two in tandem is what we're after. It's good. Nice.
Awesome. Love it. And a bit of a quote here, Das, from the arborist himself, Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
If I had 5 minutes to chop down the tree, I'd spend the first 3 sharpening my axe. It's an important part. And I think this is where we've seen probably the number one issue with HubSpot rollouts is they didn't slow down to get it executed well from the beginning. And then all of a sudden they've got deal stages in a pipeline that's kind of half-assed, and everyone's run now 1,200 deals through it. And now it's all just like it's too much of an effort to even fix this thing.
Yes.
I think this idea of slowing down to get the basics nailed is so important. And some of the stuff we're going to share today is very simple, team, but I guarantee a lot of you will be like, yeah, we're not using that. Yeah, we're not doing that. Yeah, we haven't thought about that. Yeah, we haven't worded it that way. Before we get to the advanced stuff of workflows and automations and all this cool stuff that this technology can do, you got to get the foundations right. If we're building a house, you got to get the foundation square. Otherwise the whole thing's going to fall over. So I think it's a timely quote here, Das, that it really is slowing down and sharpening the saw rather than just barreling in and trying to run a million deals through a crappy deal stage.
Yes, absolutely. Let's rip in. So
Love
team, this is a Darcy special, if I might take this one off your hands, Steve. Is that good? Team, I'm super passionate about this one because in the work that I've ever done with HubSpot teams and HubSpot leaders, there is one particular part of your entire CRM that creates the health of everything else moving forward, and that is your deal stages. I'm going to show you how this normally goes, and you just let me know if this is resonating with you or if you've had this experience yourself. As a team, you signed up for HubSpot, and you might have done it 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, whatever CRM it might have been that you signed up for. Ron, who sits in the back corner, goes, oh, I'll set this thing up. This shouldn't be too hard. And so Ron jumps in and he just creates some deal stages. The deal stages sound something like curious, cold, medium, hot buyer. That'll do. Discovering. Deal stage. Done. And then someone goes, oh, Ron, apparently you can put like percentages next to these to like make it like really clear your forecasts and stuff like that. Like how much money is likely to come through out of all this. And he goes, oh, all right. No worries. Yeah, I've got that. Here he goes. 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%. That'll do. All right. There's your deal stages. Now, time goes on and Ron's happy. Ron's moved on. He's not in the sales team anymore. He's off doing something else. And the team has adopted or inherited this pipeline. And because a number of deals have actually gone through the pipeline by now and some dropped out the other end, the assumption is it works good enough. Please, team, put a yes in the chat or a Y in the chat if that has been said about your pipeline at some stage throughout its development. It's good enough, or yeah, it'll do. It's too late now to go back and change it, right? This is where we run into issues. Now, what happens then is we move time on. And now we're up to that sort of 4, 5, 6 years of so many deals moving through these deal stage pipelines that it actually has become like a ship that would actually be way too hard to turn around and head back the other way. Even though now everyone's grown in the company to a state of realizing, hey, we are so far past those old deal stages that we used to have, but I have no idea where to start to actually get this thing back up to where it could be. In order to turn that around, it's going to take too long, okay? That is the story of Ron. Many of us know Ron, or we have a Ron in our company, or we were the Ron in our company 4, 5, 6 years ago. It doesn't have to be this way. There is a chance for Ron to repent and heal. So the way we look at this, it's worth it. So team, I want to run you through the number one problem that people have with their deal stages, or the number one issue that they create for themselves with their deal stages, and then show you the proper way to be doing it moving forward. Okay, here's how it goes. The main problem that people make is that they have their deal stages, please write this down, they have their deal stages be definitive of their buyer, meaning their buyer is defined by the deal stage they've found themselves in. And so the deal stages actually become more like tags for the buyers as opposed to deal stages of a pipeline they would move through. I'll give you an example. In the Ron example, it was something along the lines of cold lead, warm, interested, hot buyer, closed, something like this. Now, the problem with that is this. I'll show you why that's a problem. Imagine you walked into your first day in a sales job and your boss said to you, hey, Steve, what I want you to do is here's your phone, here's your email address, here's a stack of leads, there's the CRM, have at it. So Steve logs into the CRM and the first thing he sees is that pipeline. Now, notice how when he sits down at his desk, looks at all the deals, in order to move a deal from a cold lead to a warm opportunity, notice that actually doesn't tell Steve in any form of direction, in any way whatsoever, what he needs to do to move that deal from a cold to a warm. Or if it gets to a hot deal over to a closed sale, again, he has no idea what he needs to do to move deals from hot deal over to closed sale, okay? It isn't helpful. It doesn't give him any direction. And it's not an active pipeline that continually can be worked on by moving deals to the next stage. Okay? Give us a yes team if this is resonating so far, or if you can start to imagine and visualize what it is I'm actually explaining here. And even more so if you've actually had that experience with your own pipeline, I'd love to know. Or if I'm just ranting and missing the point, just say so. Now, next thing that we want to implement here is instead, what we want to be able to do is have our deal stage pipelines be representative of where someone is overall on an overall deal process, okay? So, for example, let's just say you have the first people that have dropped into a lead, they've downloaded something, or they've opted into your website, or whatever it may be. The first thing that you may have may be something like opted in. The next thing that you could have would be first contact made. The second thing that you could have might be meeting booked. The fourth thing that you might have might be meeting complete, nurture, something like this. Now, in a deal stage pipeline like that, and there'd be more stages to this pipeline, I've just given you the first few here to go. But the deal stage pipelines there, we realized that if now Steve rocked up to his first day of sales, he rocks up to the pipeline, looks at the CRM and goes, all these opt-ins. I suppose all I have to do with them now is just make the first contact. Okay, that makes sense. Hey, out of all of these people that have had the first contact made, I realize now the first thing we've got to do with them is actually book meetings with them. Hey, if I go and look at all these people that have booked meetings, I realize now the next thing we've got to do is attend those meetings. And after we attended them, they're going to move into nurture. It becomes an active pipeline that Steve or any new person that comes to your deal stages, any new person that comes to your HubSpot can look at it and go, I know exactly what needs to happen with these deal stages as they go. In a nutshell, here's what happens. The problem that people make is that they make their deal stages all about them in terms of how they feel about where their buyer is at, as opposed to making their deal stages about the buyer and the stages they need to ultimately go through to make a decision. One is all about you and reactive. The other, the one we want, is all about your buyer and allows you to proactively move them through the deal stages, which is what we're after. Wesley Weirmouse just put her through an aha to the hosts and panelists. Appreciate it, mate.
Yeah.
When the penny drops on this, Steve, it is a ripper.
Yeah, it's so good. And for those who haven't been around the Y Bravo webinar train for a while, they're our favorite three letters, AHA, an aha moment. If you do have an aha moment, feel free to throw it in the chat or send it to us directly. Gets us fired up, means we're on track and know that our message is landing. But a good practical way of doing this, team, and it's a penny drop moment for a lot of people, is your deal stages should be written in past tense. Meeting booked, drawings sent, LOI received. So you categorically know whether that's happened or not, and it should be in past tense. So then you always know what the next stage is, and it's always in past tense.
I like that a lot, Steve. That's well defined. Yeah.
It should be action oriented, opted in. They've already done it. So then you know exactly where they are in that deal stage. It's also really important that if you notice in your HubSpot pipeline, because you've got the values, but you've also got the number of deals in a particular deal stage. If you notice that one part of your pipeline is constipated, I was working with a client this morning and they had a deal stage. We're fixing up the whole thing for them, but they had a deal stage that was proposing. And then the one after that was negotiating. So one, again, it needed to be redefined to, pricing presentation or proposal presentation. And then there was 727 deals in that one stage. And it was massively constipated. And so I said, hey, what's going on here? Like they're all getting stuck. What happens next? What should happen next? As you said here, ask yourself, and then what happens? And then they said, oh, well, that's when we really get into our nurture and our follow-up and our really understanding, knocking out the objections and who's actually going to be the winning, builder on the project, because that's where it all gets stuck. And so I said, okay, well, we need to add a deal stage in between proposal presentation complete to negotiation started, is we need to have a deal stage in there called waiting on / nurture phase, and get some exit criteria in there so we know exactly what we need to be doing in follow-up and nurture, because it's all getting stuck there. So it's also a good thing to keep in mind is if your pipelines are constipated in a certain stage, it's likely you're missing a deal stage either side, and that's why it's actually getting stuck there as well.
That's awesome. Jerry's just said, aha, this makes good sense. What happens next? And then have them in the past tense. Love it, mate. Sounds like a penny's drop, Jerry. That's good to hear. Josh has asked a really good question here.
Let's get into some questions here, Das. Yeah.
He says, a 4 to 6 month client journey could be 15 to 20 interactions. If we did a stage per interaction, it could be rather extensive. Or do we do a mix of sequences with stages?
Yeah.
So I'll give this a crack first, Steve, and then have your thoughts. But essentially, Josh, we're not necessarily talking about interactions here, but rather overall stages or milestones in the past tense. So 15 to 20 interactions. I'm assuming that has something along the lines of, a call is made, a follow-up email might be sent after that if they didn't answer, things like this. If you get in the weeds like that, yes, you'd have a very, very long pipeline. And that's not necessarily the outcome that we're after here. What we're looking for is the outcome is achieved of, for example, meeting has been booked or proposal sent, or first proposal meeting booked, something like this. Those bigger milestones are the ones we want to have in your pipeline, as opposed to the in the weeds interactions. 15 to 20 is probably getting a little bit specific about it.
Yeah. Yeah, think of the milestones. That's a good way of doing it. And then you can bundle that up. For example, a lot of time people have nurture sequence complete, and that's a deal stage. And within that nurture sequence complete deal stage, they've got, tasks or automated tasks, or even a workflow set up for them to run through that nurture stage. And it could be 6 or 7 stages along there. Also seen a few patterns, so keep it coming here, team. Ricardo, you've got a few things there that are somewhat past tense. For example, consultative interview. You want to put consultative interview complete. Initial proposal. It should be initial proposal sent. Again, past tense. But one of your stages there, it's just called prospecting. So as a new rep, if I was working for you, I don't know what prospecting means. So instead, maybe think about the outcome you're looking for in prospecting. So it could be project found, or 12-month opportunity found, or whatever. Give a bit more clarity on what exactly you're looking for in that outcome. And that's really a good way to think about it. If you were a new rep looking at your deal stages, would you know what to do? That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah, Ricardo, really interesting there. You've got number one, lead gen and qualify. That's fine. That's just usually the first stage of the pipeline is a bit of a kickoff stage, as it is anyway. But number two, prospecting. Prospecting is actually an action that you're taking. It's not an outcome that you're achieving. I hope that lands for you, Ricardo. So prospecting is the action you're taking, but in order to get to what outcome? Whatever outcome it is you're looking to get to as a result of it, that would actually be the name of your deal stage there. Good one. Ricardo said, yep, thanks. That's awesome. Good.
Yeah. Bruno, you said a good question here. After proposal sent and doing follow-ups to get feedback, we drag deals into stages named awarding this year, this quarter, this month. Keen to your thoughts here, whether this is a good method. Yeah, I actually don't mind that. If you are in a really long sales cycle, sometimes you can define it by what is the time frame, and then therefore the associated workflow with that. So you can kind of see that this is a longer term deal, this is a shorter term deal, this is something that's happening within the next quarter or month. So I don't think that's a problem at all. Again, you just want to make sure that it's clearly defined what you should be doing in that stage. And again, we're going to get to more of that in our advanced HubSpot when we're talking about workflows. But yeah, outcome-based deal stages, exactly, Bonnie. That's exactly what you're looking for. So yeah, feel free to keep sending them through. We can keep critiquing them, but I hope that penny's dropped, team. Nathan, you've got a lot of deal stages in there, and you've got discovery call booked and discovery call action required, display visit booked, display visit action required. It's okay. I would more rather you have discovery call complete or discovery call booked and then discovery call complete, and then whatever it may be. Action required, you'd want to have a required field if you're going to keep it as action required. But I think you could clean that up a little bit if you put it into more of a milestone ideal buyer journey and educate what really needs to be happening next. Also, you said the word quote. I hate the word quote. Change that to proposal.
You've got him started now.
Quote, your buyer's always just going to think about price and getting multiple of them. And if you want to do that, go for it. Proposal is always a way better conversation. And really, if you've gone through a discovery call to a display visit to a design consult, you should be presenting proposals, not quotes at that stage. So that can work really well. And on hold, that's okay as well. But yeah, I'd be thinking a little bit more around the actual milestones. Pierre said, you mentioned a nurture stage after a meeting is conducted. What stages would you suggest to keep this deal moving towards an order or partnership? So really, when you're in nurture stage, it's important that you're using more than just phone and email as your methods. ultimately that's what makes a good nurture sequence is you're getting other touch points in that aren't just phone and email, because that's where people get stuck in that forever phone and email train. So you should be thinking about, is there additional post proposal face-to-face visits you can be doing? Can you book in Teams or Zoom calls? Can you send personalized videos, lumpy mails? Can you get creative, connecting on LinkedIn? All of those things that help you nurture a deal in multiple touch points is the key. One little tip on that as well, you can add to your deal tile card number of sales activities that automatically sit on the tile. And that's also really handy, knowing that most deals close between the 7th and 12th touch point. So if you've got a deal that's sitting in nurture and it's got 2 sales activities against it, well, you know, you actually haven't done enough nurture on that at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
And
really,
to answer the question there, Pierre, and then we'll jump on to the next slide. But to answer your question there, Pierre, in terms of a deal stage specifically after that, most will have something along the lines of a verbal agreement or something like that after that, or an LOI signed after it is in nurture. Because really all your discovery's been done. A lot of the documents, proposals, etc., will have been sent. Up to that nurture stage, we really are starting to move into that verbal agreement or officially deal closed after that stage. Hope that helps, Pierre.
Yeah. Caleb, I think in between your solution presented and verbal agreement, there should be a nurture stage in there as well. A lot of people miss that nurture stage, Das.
Yeah.
And wonder why follow-up doesn't happen that well.
Nice. That's good. Tim, we've got a lot of questions coming through to hosts and panelists. Just put your chat to all, because then people can actually help you out with their own experiences as well. It's good. Exit criteria. Steve, this is a Stevie Clayton special.
Yeah.
Over to you.
So once you got your deal stages set up and they're all in past tense and they're action oriented and you could give it to a brand new rep and they've got a pretty good idea of your sales process, exit criteria is what you want next. And these are normally either properties that you set in HubSpot or custom properties that are required fields. Meaning if you're dragging it from this stage to the next stage, it'll pop up with exit criteria saying, hey, add in your BCOP notes, which is backstory, challenge, outcome, process, or add in your expected close date. Hey, add in this, tick this box, finish this information. So exit criteria is what you want to think about is don't just be left up to interpretation. Yeah, I had a call, that'll do. Instead, you want to set clear criteria required for each deal stage and what needs to happen for it before it can move to the next stage. So for us, a big one is in that discovery phase, getting our HubSpot users to put in BCOP notes, backstory, challenge, outcome, process. Some teams even have a playbook created in that with some, preset questions that they can fill in and put some notes in. But it's really about getting those notes into the system and making that a required field so it doesn't move forward to the next stage without some BCOP notes. It could be the next step has been established. So they have to type in as a required field, hey, next step is I'm going to send them this document. Next step is I need to book in this meeting. Next step is I'm going to connect with them on LinkedIn. It could be the buyer type. And we have drop-down menus that select the buyer as either being a hot buyer, meaning they're really urgent, they're keen, they want to work with it fast. Educated buyer, meaning they're in the market, they know about us, but they got a bit of time on their hands. Shoppers, these are the kind of somewhat crappier leads that are just out shopping around. And then like a cold lead or a not interested kind of buyer. And we've actually got them set up as tags. So when we move our deals from the initial stage, which is more of like a lead-in opportunity, to a BCOP discovery complete, we tag our buyers so that we can know which ones need the best follow-up and which ones aren't going to be great. Or, hey, I've shared this asset with this particular person. So exit criteria is essentially really just thinking what has to happen or what has to get recorded for it to move from deal stage 1 to deal stage 2, so on and so forth all the way through. So through the whole process, it's going to be really clean by the time it gets to the end. And you've got the best shot at actually closing it. So that's what I'm often thinking about. Yeah.
Can we get an understanding team in the chat? Just give us a yes or a no, like Y for yes, N for no, if you have exit criteria set up in your HubSpot pipelines. We'd just love to get a good gauge, a good finger on the pulse of how that is going for most people. We've got yes, yes, no. Keep it coming, team. We'll tap on that. So It's really good, Steve. I think the best metaphor for this is always to take ourselves to the car, put ourselves in the driver's seat when you're applying for your license. In order to move from having your P's to, oh no, actually it's not. It's having from your L's to getting your P's.
LTPs, yeah.
You need to go on a driving test. And
Yeah.
the driving test says we need to tick these boxes. You need to know that you need to stop at a red light. We need you to be able to do a reverse parallel park. And we need you to be able to keep both hands on the wheel the entire time. That's our exit criteria for you to move from being on your L's to being on your P's. And it's the exact same with our deal stages. Before each deal graduates to the next stage, we need to know that this has been ticked, and this has been recorded. And you know what it is, Steve, more than anything else for the leaders on the call? Ultimately, what this is a way of creating structured process in your sales team that everyone has to follow. That's what I love about it, Steve. You and I know that if ever a deal is sitting at a particular stage in our pipeline, in order for it to be there, it must have all this information inside that deal. Otherwise, it could never have made it to that stage of the pipeline.
Yeah.
Leaders absolutely love that because they know it keeps things clean and everyone's recording the notes as per usual.
Yeah, 100%.
So we got around about a 50-50 here, Steve, by the looks of it, in terms of everyone's chat.
Yeah.
In terms of deal stage exit criteria, 50% of people don't have any of that set up and 50% have got some set up. So that's
And
good.
I'd keep it nice and simple, team. Like, this is the other thing, is you don't want to get your CRM to a point where it's absolutely laborious to use. You know, it's normally one or two simple things that they need to enter in at that stage. And then once they move it to the next stage, it's one or two simple things that they need to enter in.
Yeah, don't overdo it.
Instead of I move at one stage and then all of a sudden I have to write an absolute novel about the client. Like, I find the best way to implement this is just little bits that build on each other all the way through. You know, even simple things like discovery meeting booked or whatever it may be, get it to pop up saying discovery meeting date. And then that way you enter in the date and you know that it's all booked in. People know that it's coming up. Again, when we get to workflows in our advanced one, this is where you can have a lot of fun with automated workflows, creating tasks, creating sequences, getting other people notified, internal notifications. There's so much we can do that with that. So definitely a good one to look into.
Nice one. Good. Josh said we set ours up a few years back, need to reestablish. Yeah, hope that's helpful, Josh. Keep it simple in your new reestablished exit criteria. You'll be glad you did. Nice. Snippets and templates, Steve.
Yeah, so this is another big one. Everyone kind of sometimes does it a little bit different, but it's definitely good sales practice to have some winning templates actually embedded into your HubSpot. And obviously you can create two things, which is snippets and templates. So what we don't want to do is manually copy and paste or type out your best email templates one for one. Really common one is a really good proposal email script, which is the body that you put with an email. We've got an absolute winning proposal script. If you want it, just reach out to us, or send us an email, darcy@ybravo.com, and we can hook you up with this proposal email template. What you don't want to say is, "Hey, Darcy, quotes attached, blah, 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 blah. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions or queries." That's the worst email you can ever send when you're sending off your proposal or quote. There's a way better way. So you want to have a really solid proposal email body template, product overview emails, any of those templates that, are really gold that you want to make sure the team are nailing every time. Upload them into HubSpot as a template. Make it easy for them to be able to use these templates. And it makes it so much easier if you're onboarding a rep. So snippets, on the other hand, team, are regular text that you use a lot. And when you set up a snippet, it's called a hashtag function. So for example, let's say you just want to get the team simply started in typing BCOP notes into the notes function against a deal. Yeah, thanks, Das. That's awesome.
Nice.
Really, really simple. You can put hashtag and then whatever letters you want. So for us, we've set one up that says hashtag BCOP. And what we've done is saved a snippet with all of the key questions we need to be asking our buyers during a discovery phase. When we're on a call or a discovery call, I can just go to notes, type in hashtag BCOP, and it goes pop and pops in all of the questions with space for me to type in their answers. And it's a really good way of having some functions in there if you want to get better at note taking. Snippets are really, really awesome. but templates is the best way to start. So to actually get to there, all you need to do is go into your HubSpot sidebar on the left-hand side, scroll down to library. It'll be pretty close to the bottom on the left. And then you can go across to templates, and you can start creating templates or using a lot of the existing HubSpot templates. Make it simple, make it easy. Das has just put the proposal email tip in the chat there. I've also recorded a little video that I can hook you up with that explains it all. So actually I might get that going.
Yeah, nice. You go for that. I'll run through a little bit more on templates here. So you just got a link for that video. Is that right, Steve? We'll put that in the chat. Yeah, great. Awesome. So with templates team, I'm a big fan of sitting down. There's nothing pleases me more, team, than sitting down, putting my earphones in my ears, putting Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon on as loud as it could possibly go. I got my coffee on my left, I've got my water on my right, and I'm getting into an afternoon of outbounding. I love it. It's just such an enjoyable experience. I really love it. And if you're into the outbound world and you enjoy doing sales like this, I'm sure you're resonating as well right now. But what I do first and foremost, a lot of those times, is I'll go straight into HubSpot, set up a template, have it so that it's obviously got its tags there in terms of the names, that I don't have to just type everyone's name, whatever it may be. And if there's a particular message I'm looking to get out, so for example, let's say it's this. If I was going to sit down and invite people to this webinar, I would say, hey, in brackets, contact first name in the template. We're running a webinar on blah. We're going to be covering this. It's designed perfectly for people who are blah. Would love to have you here. Here's the link. Have you there. Here's the link. Cheers, Darcy. Right. And I'll create that template. It's the first thing I would do on an afternoon of outbounding. All right. Then when I go into, if you've got your HubSpot linked with your Gmail, or your Outlook should take care of it as well. Does Outlook take care of it as well? Does it link with HubSpot, Steve? I know Gmail does. Yeah,
Gmail's
great.
the best though.
Excellent. Gmail plugin's the best. Then basically what happens is when you're linked, you go in to create a new email. And if I go to send an email to Steve, so I go steve@ybravo.com, I can simply click. It'll be one of the first templates that shows up there as a link right there in the email. HubSpot's linked with it, so it knows it's what I'm probably about to do. I can click that link and just go bang, and it just goes right down. Hey, Steve, we're running a webinar on blah, 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 blah. Send, right? And all I had to do was set it up once. And from there, it's basically like click, email, bang, click, email, bang, click, email, bang. Now, you might ask the question, what are templates handy for if you could have just done that as an EDM, like send it out as an email blast to your network? I prefer the outbound approach. How was your lunch, Steve? Was that good?
Yeah, that was good. Thank you.
Yeah, nice. I prefer the outbound approach because number one, it gets through all email and spam filters because you actually are sending a proper email. It's not going out as an email blast. And also people, when they receive that email, sense that it's more personalized for them as opposed to an EDM blast out, because it doesn't come with all of the usual, those things you can see in an email where you just know that it's just been blasted out. It's not just plain text, which you can actually do with a template. So that's me. That's a shout out to all those people who love just getting their coffee and getting themselves geared up for a whole afternoon of outbounding. Templates are going to be your best friend in the world.
I think it's the way to do it, for sure.
Cool. How are we doing so far, team? Just give us a thumbs up in the chat or anything you're learning. Is anyone still there? Are we talking to ourselves, or are we give us a yell? Everyone's probably just still devouring the proposal template, Steve, and sending it out to their list.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Any more questions? Let us know as we go through. Love it. And for those that are using templates, let us know. Is there any key templates that you guys have put in that's made a big difference? But I do agree with you, Das. I think the whole EDM, just blast it out, that's easier, is the whole reason why it's not necessarily working so well, right? And people see the unsubscribe button and all that sort of stuff. Whereas if you're actually taking the time to manually email people, even though the template and the script is very much the same, and you might just adjust a few bits and pieces, them knowing that you actually took the time to send it, because there's no unsubscribe button and all that sort of stuff, I think makes a huge difference to your reply rates and your nurture and all that sort of stuff as well. And again, you can set up automation around this for certain tasks. All right, hack number 4 is documents. This is one that I personally really, really like. Don't manually attach your PDF documents in an email. This is what most people do, is just set up an attachment. They find the PDF on their desktop, double click, attach and send. So that could be like a product overview or a company overview or a process map or whatever it may be. If it's a really important PDF, it could even be something that you have as a proposal. But what you do want to do is upload documents into your HubSpot for tracking. And so what you can do is once you've uploaded the document, you'll see that when you're writing an email out of HubSpot, or whether you're writing it in your Gmail or Outlook with the HubSpot integration running for your inbox, you'll see next to templates, there's a button there where it says insert document. And so you can click documents and you can insert, say, your company overview or whatever it may be. And what it actually creates is a unique link for that particular email. So it's the same document, but it's created a unique link for that document. Why this is really powerful is now you get visibility on how many times has that document been viewed and when was the last time it got viewed. And this is really powerful for just kind of being that inside, FBI agent of going, they opened our company overview document 5 times. Wow, okay, there's obviously some interest here. Oh, they just reopened it again. What's going on there? And so you can actually have a look at links created versus views, and then gives you some pretty good insight into whether it's even been viewed. How many times has it been viewed? And it'll give you sort of inside information around the buyer's intent. So this is why I love
cool,
documents.
Steve.
It's really powerful.
It's really powerful. Like because we understand this through proposal software. Most people will have used something like Proposify or PandaDoc, or we're big fans of Quilla. Now we use a lot of Quilla proposals. Having data and analytics around when people open those proposals, like that's so 2012, Steve. Like companies like that have been doing that for a long time.
Yeah.
But to have open rates and open data on literally the attachments that you send in emails, that's taken it to another level that a lot of people wouldn't really have ever considered taking advantage of.
Yeah. And it eventually becomes quicker, because if there's regular documents that you're sending over and over and over again, instead of like double click, add attachment, double click, documents, scroll, find that folder, scroll. Hey, is that the right one? Oh, no, it's not. It's actually the other one. It actually takes longer to just manually attach it instead of just having a document library and going insert, and it adds it as a link. And it's just so much cleaner. It looks really cool. You can change what it actually is said as well. So it'll come up with a hyperlink for that document, but you can rename the title. So you can even personalize it. So like company overview for Darcy. They're more likely to click on it because it's their name now attached to the document, instead of just company overview.pdf.
Makes sense. Attachment. Yep, love it.
So there's lots you can do with documents. Let us know, team. Are you using documents? Royden's head's exploded. That's good.
That's always a good sign.
That's fantastic, mate. I hope you're well. Let me know if we need to call an ambulance. That's good. But yeah, have you guys ever used documents, or is this an aha moment for a lot of you? Let us know. I'd love to hear if this is landing for you guys. Yep, we're using this. Love it.
One body.
What kind of documents have you got uploaded as well, team? It might get those that aren't using it yet starting to think about it. For us, a lot of it's those regular templates, the overviews, scripts, whatever else that we like to send out. Brilliant. And hack number 5. This is really good for those that are in the project game. If you're sick of having to do this back and forth. Darcy, you free next Wednesday? No, actually, I'm out Wednesday. How's your Thursday? Nah, man, I'm free. Oh, actually, 7 a.m.? Nah, sorry, no. Could we do 10 a.m.? Oh, hang on. It's a whole mess. This is why apps like Calendly got used and all that sort of stuff. We personally use Calendly. However, we also have used meeting links in HubSpot in the past that are also.
Why are we sticking with Calendly right now? Let's throw ourselves under the bus right now, Steve. Is there a reason that we would use Calendly over HubSpot meeting links? I know we've used both and we have experience with both, but what's the difference?
I've set up some automations through Zapier out of Calendly links that we're currently using.
Yes.
Technically, we probably could make it work with HubSpot. We just have to.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. To make
so there's no. I'm talking more from a product standpoint.
No,
they reach the same outcome, don't they?
Exactly the same outcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's
so
free.
The folks at Calendly woke up one day and thought, "Ah, crap, we're done."
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So don't ask, hey, when would suit to catch up and constantly juggling the calendar with wasted time. Instead, set up targeted meeting links. And with meeting links in HubSpot, you can connect your calendar. So if you've got a client that you need to book in a discovery call or a proposal presentation or a Teams call or whatever kind of meeting that you need to set up, for example, like you see there, 30 minutes with Steve or an outbound onboarding call or an outbound discovery call, you can go and set one of those up. And all you need to do then is just simply send them the booking link, which again is already inbuilt into your email out. So next to templates and documents, there's meeting links, and you can send them a meeting link. They click on that, it'll show them the available times for you and them with their kind of connected spots so they can find, actually, you know what? Friday, 10 a.m. is good. They click that button, they hit submit with their email address and name, and bang, they get a calendar invite, you get a calendar invite. You can program it with your regular Zoom link or Teams link or whatever it may be. And the coolest part, team, is it automatically logs as a meeting in your HubSpot. So you don't even need to worry about the whole going back and logging your meetings at the end of the day. It's just already in there. And so this is a really simple one. If you set up meeting links, you can get them branded quite nicely as well. It's super simple to do. So meeting links is fantastic. We would recommend it if you do have regular time that you need to be having with your clients. Forget the calendar juggle, use a meeting link. They can just book straight on. It's so easy. We've even set it up in our email footers now where it says book a meeting with us, click here. And instead of them clicking onto our website, which most email footers are, they just click and takes them straight to our meeting booked, our calendar, and then they can book straight away. And we've actually had a number of meetings booked in just automatically because we made it so easy for our buyers to spend time on our calendar. So you'll see that anytime we send you an email, click the footer image and bang, you'll get straight to a calendar booking link. So
Nice.
would recommend. Let us know
Love
if
it.
you're using meeting links at all, team. If not, you should. It makes a huge difference. Nathan said, documents can only be attached with a unique code in templates, not snippets. Yes, that's absolutely true. You have to embed or push in the document around that. So great tip. Bonnie's saying documents we've used is case studies, product information. That's spot on. Lawson said, great to know what page of a product catalog they're looking at most. Yes. Very good. Working well.
And when you click on the link, team, you'll find that there's no landing page there. I haven't put the work into it yet. I just wanted to make sure you guys got this link before you jumped off the call. I'll be turning into a proper landing page soon. But if you click that link, you'll see the title. You'll know you're in the right spot. Register up, and it's all yours.
Das, we've got an anonymous question here. Is the
Beautiful.
outbound game now fully integrated with HubSpot?
Beautiful. So, team, basically, the goal is to get there. We thought we would be there by now. We thought we'd be there even by probably about a week ago, Steve, in terms of full integration with Outbound and HubSpot. But we've probably got a little bit more work and polish to do until it's fully integrated. When we say fully integrated, we mean like the big chunk of sales activities that you could possibly be doing in your day. We've really taken care of it. So calls, meetings, notes, etc., and then your deal stage movement as well. Deal stage movement through your pipeline can be rewarded through Outbound as well. So that's actually currently complete. A lot of it's complete, Steve. It's just
it's 99% done. It really is. It's just
I just don't want to say 100%.
Tiny little polishes, but and then anything more custom that you guys want to integrate with, we still have the ability to set up some custom integrations quite quickly and easily, specifically for HubSpot. So we've got that nailed. So my answer would be yes, it's fully integrated pretty much for whatever you want. The only thing that isn't running is your native two-way meetings integrations. We can currently pull that straight in from Zapier. So for those that are running Outbound and HubSpot and you just want to be pulling data straight in from HubSpot, we can just grab that. Two-way calls are already running. Deal stage movements already running. Financial goals are already running. We're just doing the final polishing for the meeting types because we understand some of you guys have custom meeting types, but that's literally in the works right now. So by the end of August, by the time we run our HubSpot Hacks 2.0, mate, we are absolutely running. And for those that want any custom integrations, let us know. We can always set them up quite quickly and easily.
Beautiful. Love it. And ultimately, team, we when you're building tech, takes time, takes money, takes resource. So you really need to back a horse when it comes to integrations. And so we thought, what better horse to back than the one that we've been riding for so long ourselves. We've bled Orange for quite some time now. And we just love that the way that Outbound connects so well with HubSpot quite naturally in terms of the way they both flow. So integrating with HubSpot specifically was a no-brainer.
Love it. Josh has asked the
Yeah, go, Josh.
question, have quite two different types of clients, separate pipelines, yes or no? Answer is yes. Yeah, 100%. If you've got a different, and there was a question back here a while, it just reminded me, we currently run a 50-50 project, everyday orders selling to civil contractors. We're slowly becoming more project-centric, but glad to understand this might be managed in HubSpot to ensure we don't lose everyday sales. I would have a project pipeline and I would have an
100%.
account management pipeline. It is so much better if they are very different. Run multiple pipelines, because then you can get your deal stages nailed. You can get your exit criteria nailed. You can get your reporting nailed. It's so much easier to have multiple pipelines than try and build it all into one big mammoth type setup. So absolutely would recommend it. For those that are running that split between account management and projects, obviously your project pipeline is pretty straightforward. You'd be running it based on specific deals and project opportunities. For those that are running more of that account management, where you're providing one buyer multiple deals and multiple proposals, I'd recommend setting up an account management pipeline. Set the deal name or the parent deal to simply be the company name, and then you can add multiple deals associated with that record. So then if you're quoting multiple jobs for them or multiple proposals before them, you can have a parent company, and then you can have all of the deals associated with that parent company. That would be my recommendation.
It's good. Josh says, thanks, we'll break it out.
Cool.
Perfect. It's good stuff, team. Love it.
Just hit 1 hour, so that's perfect.
Awesome, team. If you're reaching the stage where you need any help with your HubSpot and you want us to jump in, get in the weeds with you and start getting your HubSpot taken care of and get it flying in the right direction, just flick us an email, or book some time on the calendar. Easy done. More than happy to make sure you're taken care of. Steve's in Japan over the next couple of weeks, which means Y Bravo are well stacked in the calendar over the next 2 weeks, approximately 2 to 3 weeks, approximately. So any HubSpot work that we'll be doing will most likely be towards the end of August. So if you're wanting to jump in, book some time on the calendar, because other than that, it'll start to push out well further into the end of the year, which is the last thing that you want. So let us know how we can help, and we're right here in your corner.
Love it, team. Thanks for joining.
Look forward to seeing you in around about a month, team, for advanced HubSpot hacks. It's going to be good.
Yeah. Any questions, let us know. But thanks for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your lunch and the rest of your day. We'll see you next time.
Cheers, team.
Cheers.
See you later. Thanks, Steve.